It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interviews.
There's going to be much higher expectations, sense of awareness of what we bring to the table.
Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Rose, answer, yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker. How you doing today? It's a Tuesday. Hope you enjoyed your long holiday weekend. Hopefully you had that opportunity. Some of us had a little more anxiety over the holiday weekend, but that's on side note behind the scenes.
Yeah, I wasn't even aware of that. I was one of the people out of town. Luckily, I guess lucky for me, I wasn't one of the people that had to come back in.
Yeah, I didn't come in on Sunday, but my phone was blowing up all day, just trying to work through issues. Had some technical issues back here at the old Radio Ranch, caused the fan to go off the air for a few hours on Sunday morning, but kudos to our engineering team for giving up their holiday weekend, because they gave up their Sunday and their Monday to get in here and get things back up and running and to address cascading issues that happened as a result. But back on the air and back here with you today. So appreciate those who were patient with us over the weekend as that we dealt with that. But by all accounts, we've got it addressed and hope to not see something like that again. So just a really unique, unusual occurrence that we're still trying to make sure that doesn't happen again. But an interesting weekend in sports at the Indianapolis 500. NBA Finals are now set. We now know who will face the Denver Nuggets. What a series between Miami and Boston. We also have the champions crowned for 4A boys lacrosse. That happened Friday evening. We haven't had a chance to get on the air since that happened. So a lot of different things on the table to discuss here on the Full Court Press. As always, love to hear from you and get your content, your questions, your comments, and even recommendations if you have them. 435-339-0321. A little bit later on the show, we'll also share the stat that blew our minds and designate our player of the week. So stay tuned for that. So if you've got a recommendation or a nomination that we should consider, text us and let us know as well.
I'll say this, for as much as it feels like for the full 3 minutes of intro you did, it does still feel like a slow news week regardless, especially because you said the words Indianapolis 500 on this show. And the top of the hour news blurb started off with the thing about Jimmy Butler starting a coffee, is it kind of a drink and clothing line? Like, that's not
registering the trademark for Himmy buckets.
Like seriously. Wow. It's there's still things we can talk about, especially at a local level.
Yes.
Because, I threw it out on Twitter, things we're going to talk about, and had like 5 different things. Really only one of them was a national storyline. The others, all at least partially, had to do with local stuff. Utah State, there's more NIL collective stuff. You mentioned the lacrosse championships. One of those we haven't had a chance to talk about on the show, since the one happened Thursday, the one happened Friday after we went off air, and I was already gone, so I was already off for the weekend. But yeah, there's certainly some stuff to talk about local, but we are with lacrosse wrapping up. That's it for high school, at least for 4A.
Yeah,
I pulled my high school press pass out of my bag and hung it up in my where I put the rest of my press passes, because we're done for the year. Don't get to use it anymore. Got to wait for that 2023-24 press pass. It's kind of the signal of the end of the year. I put all my press passes from this year up on the wall, and it's like, all right, it's officially the off season. There's nothing left to cover as far as games. It's all off season coverage from here.
Yeah, I know there's things come together like American Legion, and those are like offshoots of off season baseball Local teams are still pretty much involved, but yeah, it's off season. It is. It's into the kind of the sports desert, as we'll say, especially with local stuff. Until the Utah Jazz go through, the NBA draft. A lot of speculation of what's going to go on with them, who they're going to select, how they're going to fit into the team, any other moves that they might make surrounding the draft, and then summer camp of their summer league that'll take place in Salt Lake City for a couple of games. In fact, we may have some things cooking to get you, our listeners, to some of those games. So stay tuned for that. Yeah, it's kind of exciting. But you're right. There are still things to discuss. And as one of those you mentioned, this has been a growing trend. I guess call it a trend of these boosters for different university fan bases coming together and trying to find ways to benefit the student athletes, especially for those high-profile sports, to keep them here and give them, for a number of reasons, either stay in college an extra year to work on your skill and development rather than chasing an NBA or professional career opportunity, even though maybe you're just really not quite ready, but it's hard to not walk away from the dollar opportunity, but also to keep student athletes here instead of chasing potential opportunities somewhere else, and where Utah State or schools like USU just become feeder programs for bigger, more wealthier fan bases and bigger programs. And Utah State has fans of Utah State have tried to come together and create these collectives. And what's interesting is that it's plural. It's not just one collective. Now there's multiple collectives.
Yeah, Utah State, they were kind of the first because they formed university affiliated. Oh, even then I don't think it's completely affiliated because Utah State's own collective doesn't seem to have the rights to use Utah State logo and imagery.
Yeah, I always found it weird that USU as an institution created its own because there's some inherent issues with that. Because university, and as an institution, as far as I understand, is not supposed to be directing that. They can put you in contact, but they can't be directly involved in some of that.
Yeah, and I wonder what kind of, I don't know if trickery is the right word, but just, different tactics they're using to, abide by that. And maybe that's one of the things where they're not allowed to use Utah State logos and stuff with their, I forget what their collective is called. Now I can't keep track of what all the collectives are called. But all these collectives, they're not affiliated with the university, but some are trying to act like they kind of are, like the one that came out today, which is obviously prompting our conversation here, is they say they're endorsed by Utah State, like they said it in their own releases.
Yeah.
Jerry Bovee gave a statement to them, and it's just, there's all these collectives now. There's at least 3 by my count. I don't know if there are any other that are running around beneath the radar, but it's just kind of weird and I don't know how they're all going to coexist. Like, are people going to donate to all 3 of them? Or are they going to focus on one? One is specifically football oriented,
right?
And I suppose that's the appeal of that one. The others are all athletics, and I would imagine it's just we give equal money to every athlete, based on what you donate. And then there's the football only one, which will focus on deals with just the football team. I don't know. It's all getting kind of confusing, but just the general idea is that there are people who are really trying to start these grassroots movements of let's raise some money to, as you mentioned, keep guys here or just bring them in initially. Because that's one of the struggles that Utah State might end up having is they can't attract the right prospects, along with not being able to keep them here. Whereas other Mountain West schools are beginning to show that they can. San Diego State and Colorado State recently getting news they're bringing back some key basketball players from their teams, and Utah State lost all of their key players. They couldn't keep anybody.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation, interesting dynamic right now. So I guess if you are a supporter of Utah State athletics and of Utah State athletes, historically, the way to show that support financially was by donating to the athletic department. And that's how you did it. And that was, in turn, helped the student athletes by creating better facilities, maybe better travel situations, maybe better training table clothes they could wear. So there were benefits to the athletes that would come via your donation directly to the athletic department. That still exists. But now there are also these collectives that are you can donate to or give money to. I guess it is a donation. You're just writing them a check. And that money can benefit the student athletes directly. And then on top of that, you can cut a separate deal with a student athlete for your business. And so I think it starts to get a little confusing as to how do I help USU athletics? Do I do something specifically with an athlete? Do I donate to a collective? But which collective? Do I donate to all three? And do I still give money to the athletic department? It gets a little bit confusing, and I'm not saying that to create or cause more confusion. It's just, or to say that you shouldn't do one over the other. I think we have to put some people in an awkward situation, not really awkward, but a tough situation where they have to decide and choose, because we don't live in a market that's just flush with the number of donors and high-end donors like some of these other college universities are.
Yeah, this isn't going to generate money out of nowhere. It's going to redirect some of the money. As you mentioned, basically all that money was going to the athletic department. That funds their facilities, operations, go down the list, all their expenses. And while everyone kind of wants those numbers to keep going up as far as the influx of cash into the athletic department, that is probably naturally going to go down, as some people say, well, the way I want to help out is to directly donate to the players, essentially. Donate to these NILs that then give the money to the players. So Utah State, their athletic department budget their income may go down a little bit. Maybe they'll be able to supplement that or make up for that in other ways. You'd hope they could. You don't want their income to just go down by however much money people end up funneling away from donating to athletics into donating to the athletes. So we'll see how this goes.
So the latest one that was created, that was announced today, it's called the Blue A Collective, co-founded by Eric Lobb. Yes, that is a famous last name that comes with a lot of clout in this community, and former USU head football coach Gary Anderson, which is interesting. That Gary has had various different ties to Utah State. And his last time here didn't end very well, but he has always maintained that he has always loved Cache Valley, and Utah State has always held a special place in his heart. And it's interesting that he is involved in this effort to help future Utah State athletes, not just football players. And that's what I find interesting about this new collective, is that there was already one that was created previous. There's one that's been set up specifically for football, but I'm interested in why these people were motivated to create yet another collective. But it's got some interesting people behind it, which lends a significant amount of credibility to what they can do.
Yeah, certainly. They can maybe do some, extra raising of money, and maybe in creating these NLs, they can create some extra money that wasn't there before. That's the ideal. As I said, I said that they're not going to create money out of nowhere. Ideally, they can do that to some degree, and maybe that'll help when you have Gary Anderson and you have the Lobb family helping this out. So ideally, they can raise money and help support the athletes, or at least, to put it bluntly, have the athletes be content staying here as far as the money they're receiving, especially in some of these sports that we pay a lot of attention to, like football and basketball, where You need to be able to bring in athletes. And, sometimes maybe if you're a struggling team and if you have a lot of NIL, maybe you can throw some money at some athletes and maybe get recruits that maybe you haven't earned based off your team's success, but that you can bring in and help restart a program. That's what a lot of teams are kind of trying to do right now. They're just throwing money and throwing NIL to try and bring players and coaches in to reboot their program, basically.
A statement from Gary Anderson today. I love how the Blue A Collective has its own Twitter account. That's how I kind of got the word out today. And earlier today said, Twitterless co-founder Coach Gary Anderson statement on this. So Gary Anderson's not on Twitter. They made that very clear. But here's some of his comments about this new collective, which has been organized and announced today. He says, while some may be concerned about the evolution of college athletics, I choose to see this as an opportunity to be on the cutting edge and provide new and unique opportunities for student athletes to benefit from their name, image, and likeness. Our goal with the Blue A Collective is to benefit young people off and on the field who choose to come here, choose to stay, and represent USU the right way. So, I mean, of course, he ends with the hashtag JFW, which is famous. That's classic Gary Anderson right there.
There's a lot of fluff and PR and business room speak in that statement, but the intent is there. He's trying to benefit Aggies. He does say that, all right. The point is benefit Aggies, those who stay. Because right now it's a sacrifice in some case. You talk about the guys who stay, it's like, they're sacrificing a potential NIL check to stay here at Utah State. Well, the point of these collectives is to not make that a sacrifice and just, have it be rewarding to play for the Aggies, both financially and in terms of the experience. Because that's what Utah State's trying to create. That's got to be their brand. They're not a Power 5 school. They're not, they're the third best college in terms of how big the programs are and all that kind of stuff. They need to have the brand be you can still make some money here at NIL, and you can have a great experience at Utah State. That's the appeal. Right now, they kind of only have one of those. They haven't really been able to get the NIL out there. And so these kind of things are fixing that problem that opened up with the onset of NIL.
Yeah. So I guess let me just ask you: does this excite you that another collective has come together and has been created to try to benefit student athletes? Does it create confusion for you? Like who do you donate to? You only have a finite number that you can give. Or does this not that it doesn't matter either way? Is this creating just more confusion in the current college athletics landscape? 435-339-0321. The Blue A Collective announced today with the backing of Eric Lobb and Gary Anderson. They are the co-founders of this, and they're saying it's just another opportunity for the Cache Valley community, the Aggie community at large, to benefit athletes. Eric Lobb, in his statement, says the primary objective of the Blue A Collective is to empower our student athletes to benefit from their name, image, and likeness while simultaneously fostering a strong connection with the Cache Valley community through community service initiatives. We believe that by creating opportunities for student athletes to engage in meaningful service projects and forge connections within the community, we can provide them with invaluable experience and help them develop into well-rounded individuals. So a lot of these are they get created, and like, we will benefit you, student athlete. You're going to get a financial consideration here. In return, I need you to do some social media posts, maybe show up at a community event. And I do appreciate that I'm seeing this kind of a common thread with a lot of these collectives, in that, look, what the student athlete needs to do to quote unquote earn this money is to show up at nonprofit events, charity events, things that are happening in the community for the community. And I do appreciate that. It's not just about, hey, buy this car, wear these clothes, come to this sale, get my autographed poster. It's about helping and empowering the community as well.
Yeah, and I think that is key. I think this collective is filing itself as a nonprofit, if I read that right. It's like, and maybe that's part of why they're focusing on charity organizations, that kind of thing with the athletes, that being this is how you earn the money. And I think that is a good thing. It's connecting with the community, and I certainly do like that. Now, wouldn't necessarily say it's completely better than, promoting local businesses. To me, it's all the same. It's being part of the community. Now, maybe being part of these charitable organizations will endear you to the community a little bit easier than standing in front of a business that is obviously for profit, whereas charities are meant to specifically benefit the community. But still, if you're part of the community, you're part of the community. Because if you're sponsoring a local business, well, it's a local business. So it's just the key with these NIL that it is nice that hopefully instead of just handing money to athletes, it's we're giving you this money, but you need to be part of the community.
Right. And I do appreciate that. And I think that's where I think some of these collectives can really flourish and that people in the community can get behind them, because it's not just finding a way to write a check to an athlete to try to endorse a product or a company, but it's about still supporting the community at large.
Yeah, and I think hopefully limit entitlement, because that's always a thing
Yes.
you worry about when you
Yes.
begin handing out checks to young people in exchange for nominally worthless talents. It helps them not be entitled to, I can play sports, therefore I'm better than everyone else. No, be part of the community.
Yes.
There's a reason that we hold you up, and it's because we idolize these kind of talents, but you need to appreciate the people that are holding you up in that sense.
The only thing I would hope that if there's a community event going on and there's an invitation for athletes to come and participate, that they would turn that down if they're not part of what was already arranged through a collective. Meaning, say there's some, nonprofit organization holding some community fair, like, we'd love to have some athletes come down, or Big Blue or whatever, and the athletes say, well, you're not part of this deal, so I can't come. I hope that wouldn't happen. But what is encouraging to me is that this gets the athletes into the community more, because sometimes you might see the athletes in a parade on a float. There may be some isolated events that they participate in the community, and those are awesome. And I've had my kids in there. I've seen a lot of other kids have these opportunities to interact with these athletes, and that means a lot to these kids to be able to do that. And you can create, more cement lifelong fans when you do that. And I'd love to see more of that going on, where that connection between the community and the university just is deeper and more full, and extends beyond just a few isolated events here or there.
Yeah, that is the key, and I think you hit it on the head. Where as far as you're creating lifelong fans, that's lifelong fans, in a lot of cases, lifelong donors and attendees of these college sporting events, and even some, if the women's basketball team and all these other teams are getting involved, or the volleyball team, like, they're more likely to go to those games because, hey, I know this player.
Absolutely.
I met them. I'm going to go watch them play. And so you're building yourself up naturally. You're not having to spend tons of money marketing and, graphic designers posting these great, social media posts. It's just naturally growing and cementing it even more than some random social media post.
Actually, I loved hearing the story when you had I'm missing, I want to say the wrong name, Jim Lobb. I'm going to say his brother's name, but that's not him. Jim Lobb, when he was in studio with you a little while ago, and he was talking about his personal interaction as a youth when he was in elementary school with Wayne Estes, who would come to the playground and do stuff with the kids. And that created a lifelong fan, a deep personal connection with an athlete. And that can happen multiple times over when these types of organizations come together to integrate the athletes across a variety of sports with what's going on in the community. And that I really appreciate.
Yeah. And it's nice to see, the community rallying behind each of these teams. Like, I kind of remember when the Utah Jazz were kind of going through their rise to their peak like a couple years ago into the Rudy and Donovan, where like the entire state was suddenly just Jazz mania. Like it is the biggest hype we've had basically in my life, at least since I've been a Jazz fan. I know it's not as big as when the Jazz were going to the finals, I imagine, but still, like, it was huge. The whole state was super excited about it, all over the place, Jazz everywhere. And you don't see that as much here in Logan with Utah State. Obviously, there's tons of fans, and on game days you see all the flags and stuff, but, you know, the more the university gets involved in the community, you know, the more that can happen. People can get even more hyped, and, you know, you see it everywhere. Businesses, people wearing all the gear and all that stuff, just getting more and more, you know, invested in the success of university sports teams. And it's a great thing for the community.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and as you had mentioned, it is they have filed paperwork with the IRS to be registered as a 501c3, which is a nonprofit organization. So any donations made to their organization are tax deductible. So
that'll probably help them get some donations.
Yes. So interesting. So I guess the question is just continue to reiterate on our full court press text line. Are you excited about this new collective that's being created? Does it create confusion having now a third collective among Aggie fans and alumni, or does it just further your confusion about what's going on with name, image, likeness overall and how it's affecting college athletics? 435-339-0321 here on the Full Court Press.
For more than a century, couples have shopped at S.C. Needham Jewelers. Known for a large selection of beautiful diamonds, we now have both natural and lab-grown diamonds. You're sure to find a diamond engagement ring that will fit your budget. The possibilities today are endless as you select the perfect ring. Show her you'll cherish her forever with a diamond, either natural or lab-grown, from the store where Utah gets engaged. S.C. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block, at the sign of the clock.
This is Ryan at My Mattress. Life is good. Life at My Mattress is good too. Why might I say that? Because today is a good day to slay a Goliath. The other day I went into a mattress store here in Logan that has 2,500 stores across the country. I'd say that's a Goliath. We were 20% less expensive on every bed that we both offer. We may not have 2,500 stores, but we are number one in Cache Valley. Better product and better prices. Isn't it time to sleep exceptionally? Only at My Mattress.
Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat is locally owned and operated inside the beautiful new Three Peaks Medical Plaza in North Logan. Expect the most cutting-edge techniques, qualified doctors, and friendly staff to ensure the highest quality patient care. The ENT providers have extensive training to properly treat ear, nose, and throat conditions for adults and children. Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat serves all of northern Utah and southern Idaho, accepting most insurance products including SelectMed. Go to CacheValleyENT.com for appointments and details. Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat, located in North Logan and Providence.
Advanced Fireplace and Stove wants to thank you for voting them 2 years running the gold medal winners in the Best of Northern Utah contest. With over 35 display models in their showroom, their goal is to make the process of making your home comfortable and cozy an easy experience. With premier brands like Heat and Glow, Quadrifire, and Vermont Castings, they have something for every style, every home, every budget. Building or renovating, they've got you covered. Advanced Fireplace and Stove, where comfort is their business.
This is Nate Lamson with Valley Office Systems, your home team when local matters. Valley Office Systems is your local provider for all things office, copiers, printers, furniture, and document management. Proudly serving Cache Valley since 2007. Visit valleyofficesystems.com.
The Aggies are number one here. The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
435-339-0321 if you want to chime in on the Full Court Press text line. Talking about collectives. It's an interesting term. I don't know how that got started, but it seems to be the term of choice.
Yeah, it's just, I guess it's a collective of everyone's money, and then they distribute it out. It's just, these phrases, they come out of nowhere. It's just the way it is, and then we accept them.
Yes.
And then they just You never really know where they come from. Just somebody used it, and then somebody else used it, and then somebody famous used it.
Quickly and widely accepted.
Yeah, it's just how it is.
But you know what? Yeah, great way to further provide opportunities for student athletes who are at Utah State University.
It's a way to fund student athletes. I don't know how many. I guess there's some opportunities that can be provided, because one thing as far as being a college athlete, I know Doug Gottlieb. You know, he was always against NIL, and he always argued like, oh, yeah, the opportunities of being a student athlete, and he wasn't necessarily wrong about that. It opens up student athletes, especially post, career, athletic career. Like if you work with certain people in a certain kind of business, and then leave college and most of them ain't going pro in their sport, then maybe they get into that business that they were working with people in. I know we've had a lot of athletes on our Light the A podcast, and they're in all kinds of different, professions post-career. Even if they did go pro, now they're, they have the rest of their lives and they still got to have some career.
Yeah.
So, and being an athlete helped open those doors in a lot of ways. So I guess in some ways, NIL isn't just about raw cash. There are some opportunities that can open up through these, meet somebody.
Yeah.
That's usually can be the biggest thing as far as getting an opportunity, is just meeting somebody.
Well, and also it provides that opportunity for that track athlete to go back to their home school and say, I'm going to do a clinic to help local people in my old neighborhood, my old high school, to run faster, or that person who's on the swim team, hold a clinic, or be provide some private lessons. You couldn't do that before. Now they can.
Yeah. Go home for the summer and be like, hey, I play for the volleyball team for Utah State. We were a NCAA tournament team. I was one of the leading, players in the team. Come to my camp, $15 per kid. I'll teach you all some of the tricks I've learned, and you're not rolling in dough, but
yeah, but it's an opportunity.
Yeah, you're building your brand. You're helping your own community at home. It's not like we're around here just looking for a quick buck. A lot of these can help people because, hey, maybe somebody at that camp learns to love volleyball and they go on to have their own life.
Right.
You're impacting lives in a positive way, even though money is involved. It's not like asking somebody to pay money to come to your camp is this all-encompassing evil.
No. Yeah. Agreed. Couple other things we want to get to today. As always, you can chime in on our Full Court Press text line. But on Friday, it was a rematch of the 4A state title game from a year ago. And it turned out to be more of a rematch in more ways than one. It was a repeat of what happened a year ago with Green Canyon as the underdog. Skyview was the top team through the year, going into the playoffs, rolling in as a top seed, and Green Canyon pulling off the upset. It happened last year, kind of a similar story, though Green Canyon was the number 2 seed, I believe, last year. This year they were the number 6 seed with Skyview number 1, but the outcome was the same.
Yeah, and I think one thing that Green Canyon did is they played a lot of tough opponents early on. Started the year like 0-5. From what I was looking into. And, there are coaches who love to stack their team up against the best of the best. And, I remember talking with Ainsley Jenks, the Ridgeline girls head coach. She had a team that went, they went undefeated, right?
Yeah.
They went undefeated, but they're going to play a stacked schedule at the beginning of next year. So record-wise, maybe they're not going to look as good next year. They may not end up with the number 1 RPI maybe next year if they're around as good. But, you play a stacked schedule, you get better. Cut your teeth against some of the best, and it looks like Green Canyon took that strategy and, pulled it off to its fullest. Where, yeah, they were the number 6 seed because they started off really rough in terms of their record. But in terms of what they did in the tournament, they beat the 3 seed, they beat the 2 seed, they beat the 1 seed. They went through and they beat everybody.
They did.
They didn't have an easy road, but they won the games that mattered most. They got into the playoffs. It's kind of an example of people have kind of railed against the everybody goes to the playoffs in the RPI format, but it kind of allows these teams who maybe start off a bit rough. I mean, you look at the boys soccer. You had two teams that were, underdogs.
Oh, yeah.
But they got better by the end of the season. Maybe they played tougher schedules earlier in the year, lost some games, but they got better by the end, and perhaps partly because of the current system, they got into the playoffs and then proved it on the field. And, Green Canyon, they were able to do the same here with lacrosse.
Yeah, this wasn't like the semifinals where maybe you've got some athletes who choose to do graduation ceremonies with their peers rather than on the field, though it looked like Green Canyon had a bunch of players celebrate graduation on the field. So it was a full complement of players for both schools. But this was you have to look at it as a magical run for Green Canyon. And what a spring for Green Canyon High School.
Yeah,
definitely. I mean, winning soccer, winning boys lacrosse, and just a couple crazy things at some other events at that school. Just not really the school sometimes that is always thought of as the top in that particular sport, but they had a great spring.
Yeah, I know they're not as at the top in terms of football and basketball, and heck, they had some pretty rough years in football and boys basketball at least. But yeah, they're really carrying the torch with some of these spring sports. So yeah, it's good on them. And we've reached out to some of these coaches of some of the championship winning teams. Was in contact with Green Canyon's coach, and hopefully we'll be able to have him on the show, scheduling something out. And unless something falls through last moment, we should be able to hear from him sometime next week.
Awesome. Yeah, that's been fun, talking to these coaches, celebrating their wins, and also hearing their journey, just like how they got there, because it's never easy to win a state title. And even though you may look at some teams and look at their run and what they were able to do, it looks like, they just rolled over everybody, like Bear River girls lacrosse.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, it can be challenging to get there still and to be at the top and to come home with the trophy. It's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, well, if you get good enough to where you just roll everybody, you had to put in the work to get that good to begin with. Somewhere along the lines, you put in a lot of work. If you put in a lot of work early and you're just flat out better than everyone, well, you just did your hard work a little bit earlier. Of course, then there's still hard work about always being the team with the target on your back, and what happens when you have a bad day and they have a great day because they're motivated to play you. Yeah, sure, if you're just that much better, there was hard work you've done, and still some hard work in overcoming, your own mental state as far as being overconfident and having to overcome, as I said, the target on your back. So even these teams that win their championship games by like 12 goals wasn't necessarily easy. It may have been kind of easy that day, but somewhere along the lines, it was hard for them.
435-339-0321 if you want to chime in on the Full Court Press. Go take another time out here on the show. And when we come back, shifting gears a little bit, talking about moving to a national story, looking at the NBA Finals, which are now set. Miami Heat taking care of business in Game 7 on the road and doing it walking away. Just great big separation in that second half over the Celtics. Now looking at the finals, is this a matchup that you're excited about? Will this be interesting for you to watch? Interesting TV? We'll discuss that coming up next here on the Full Court Press.
Imagine your wedding day. Elegant, simple, yet stunning, stress-free. It's your day. It's all about you. Whether you're looking for small and simple or have a grander idea, the Riverwoods Conference Center will accommodate your every need. Choose the inside ballroom elegance or outside along the natural decor of the beautiful Logan River. A Riverwoods event planner will work personally with you to make sure your event is exactly how you've envisioned it. The Riverwoods Conference Center, where your happily ever after begins. Google Riverwoods Conference Center or call 750-5151.
Spend less time at the post office. With Formax and Mint mailing systems from Les Olson IT, you can quickly, accurately, and easily process your outgoing mail and even save on postage. Fold your documents, stuff and seal your envelopes, print addresses, weigh and measure to apply proper postage, all with the click of a button. With multiple model options available, you're sure to find a Formax solution and Mint mailing device that perfectly fits your business needs.
Les Olson IT.
As a small business, achieving your financial goals and ambitions can be a steep and rocky mountain to climb. This is Brent Wallace of Cache Valley Bank. To conquer this mountain and achieve your goals, it takes planning, hard work, and discipline. At Cache Valley Bank, we have the resources, expertise, and flexibility to help you scale your way to success. Give us a call. Let's work together and climb the mountains that await. Cache Valley Bank, member FDIC.
Forget the weather this summer with York Home Comfort Systems. Now's your chance to get local rebates, financing options, and industry-leading manufacturer-backed warranties on your new home comfort system. Plus, you can get up to $2,000 in tax credits with IRA 25C federal tax credit. Installing a York Home Comfort System's even more affordable. Maximize your savings and forget the weather this summer. Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning Showroom is west of DI. Online at advancedheating-ac.com.
Hi, this is Jay Broadbent. If you use a CPAP, need a walker or a wheelchair, or just need some assistance around your home, then this announcement's for you. Alpine Home Medical is opening a new store in Tooele. We're planning on opening our doors this summer. Check us out on social media at AlpineHME or alpinehomemedical.com to stay up to date.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
That's alpinehomemedical.com.
Interviews, analysis, and a little bit of fun mixed in. The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
I was always very, very confident in that. I worked extremely hard with the team, with Brickley. I can score on Remy all day, every day, as I've posted on Instagram. So I'm just confident. I know the work that we all put into it, so I know what we're capable of. But nobody's satisfied. We haven't done anything. We don't play just to win the Eastern Conference. We play to win the whole thing.
That's Jimmy Butler talking after the game last night where the Miami Heat took it to the Boston Celtics. I mean, it was a little bit back and forth early to start the game, but then Miami just threw the hammer down. Their defense continued to pour it on offensively, and Boston just never really got into it. There's always a risk of walking into a Game 7, especially if it's on your home court, that we've got the series back at home, we'll have the crowd, we'll be good. We should be favored to win this game. That didn't happen that way for Boston last night. It didn't happen that way for Philadelphia earlier in these playoffs. And didn't happen that way for the Sacramento Kings earlier this playoffs either.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. Game 7s have been really disappointing. You know, there's always this, excitement of Game 7. Game 6 has some of that because in Game 6 it's guaranteed somebody's on the ropes. Then Game 7 it's win or go home for both teams. But yeah, they've all been blowouts. Because Sacramento, Golden State, what was that? What was the final score in that
120
game?
to 100 for Golden State.
Yeah, so 20-point blowout. And then you get Game 7 of the
Boston and Philadelphia.
Philadelphia, that was 112 to 88. So, another, it's not 20-point blowout, if I'm doing the math right. But then you get, Heat over Celtics 103-84, nearly a 20-point blowout. It's like, none of these Game 7s have been exciting. All the excitement of the Game 7 is like before tip-off. Now, there have been some exciting closeout games, thankfully, in these playoffs, but have felt a little more few than in far between. Because I'm writing them down, the three that I've managed to get through so far. I didn't go through every series, but Denver closing out LA 113-111, pretty exciting closeout game, even though it was a sweep. Miami, New York, final was 96-92 in the closeout game. Probably the best closeout game of the at least in terms of excitement so far. would have been Miami-Milwaukee in the first round, where it was a 128-126 finish. But other than that, closeout games have just kind of been the one team blows out the other team and the other one just gives up. Like you saw that with Phoenix. They went out with a whimper. So did Golden State. And like I said, 76ers, and even Boston, the series after they closed out somebody with a blowout, they went out with a bit of a whimper at home, to the point where somebody became a meme because they were just staring at the court. Poor Bill Simmons. Just that look of disbelief that everyone knows, that feeling of just you're dead inside because you're watching your favorite team get dismantled and you know it's over.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's going to be a Miami versus Denver NBA Finals. Does that interest you? Are you getting excited about this NBA Finals? Because I know, like, the national narrative, would have preferred Boston, L.A., two of the NBA's most storied and historic franchises. But you've got Miami versus Denver, a team with a bunch of undrafted guys versus a team that nobody wants to continue to vote for the MVP, even though he is the best player in the game.
Yeah. Look, here's the thing. You get some people, absolute casuals on social media, saying, oh, the ratings are going to be terrible. Well, don't watch. I don't care. I'm not an NBA executive, even if it is going to be bad ratings. Like, if you enjoy basketball, you will watch these NBA finals. Like, if you prioritize wanting to watch good basketball.
Yes.
You may not always have the opportunity to watch the games for whatever reason. But if you prioritize watching good basketball and you go out of your way to watch good basketball, you will watch this series because these are exciting teams playing really good basketball, really intelligent basketball, well-coached basketball. Like, there's nothing to dislike about this series. If you say this series is boring, stop watching the NBA because you should get out now because all the players you care about that you think are going to be interesting, they're about to retire in the next 3 to 4 years. Yes. Just leave.
I think it'll be fun. Exciting for one city in particular to have their first trip to the NBA Finals. That's going to be exciting for Denver. And then you've got Miami, who's been to the finals about as often as anybody over the last 15 years. And they've got a team full of just scrappy players that are digging in and playing really hard. And one of those is a former Mountain West Conference standout player and Caleb Martin, who had a big Game 7. In fact, some interesting comments from Bam Adebayo last night about Martin and his play and what he has meant for Miami.
A lot of people don't see the work that Caleb put in. I mean, y'all see it now because he's playing out of his mind. But after that Game 7 loss, I feel like he made it a necessary effort to really come back and be like, I'm going to be a reason why we win a series or be a reason why we win big games. And he showed that throughout this whole series, and I'm truly proud of him. One, he's from North Carolina. So just representing North Carolina is a good thing for us. But also, man, he gets the opportunity to, one, win a Eastern Conference championship, and two, he gets to play in his first finals.
Yeah, Miami kind of feels like the dream for, you think, small market teams wanting to try and find all these undrafted, scrappy players. If the Heat win this NBA Finals, they're going to be like the next Detroit Pistons, 2004 Detroit Pistons comparison.
True.
And maybe that sets a new precedent because maybe it can happen once every 20 years instead of once ever.
Well, I mean, Jimmy Butler's been a multi-time All-Star. Bam Adebayo, he's been an All-Star. But they're not, like, superstars. They're not really stars.
Yeah.
They're good players, and they've been recognized before. But by and large, that roster is, as you said, a bunch of scrappy players who are just trying to play basketball.
Yeah, the thing that has kind of made this run remarkable is that Jimmy Butler's playing like the superstar, but he's not been recognized as that. And he's only one other time has he really shown that, and that was the last time he made the NBA Finals, where he kind of dragged the Heat there. So, yeah, in the end, this is an exciting, matchup. Jimmy Butler playing incredible basketball, making things happen game after game. Nikola Jokic on the other side. Like, if you think Nikola Jokic is boring and you don't think that he's a good player, then
you're not paying attention to how he plays.
You clearly haven't watched.
Very special player. All right, coming up on the other side, it's Tuesday, so we're going to do the stat that blew our minds and our player of the week.
It's finally starting to feel like spring, so let Prodigy Brewing spring a delicious experience of flavor and fun into your world. Enjoy Cache Valley's juiciest burgers, tastiest nachos, flavor-filled wood-fired pizzas, and specialty craft brews. And did you know Prodigy Brewing offers an amazing brunch menu every Sunday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.? Whether it's lunch, dinner, or Sunday brunch, let Prodigy Brewing spring you into deliciousness. Book now for upcoming graduation parties. Prodigy Brewing, exceptional food, extraordinary service, and family-friendly on Center Street in downtown Logan.
Ladies, do you have your men's ring yet? We know that he got you the perfect ring, so let's get him one that will show how much you care, such as a one-of-a-kind Damascus steel, his choice of camo, or an exquisite redwood inlay. And if you really want something out of this world, come check out our meteorite rings. For the largest selection of unique men's rings, make it special, make it Jarek's at 930 North Main in Logan.
Jarek's Fine Jewelry. Make it special, make it Jarek's.
No matter what the conditions, DD Auto and Salvage can get your vehicle up and off your property. Now is the time to plan to make extra cash by calling DD Auto and Salvage and moving that old vehicle. Let them pay you for that junk vehicle. DD Auto and Salvage makes it so easy to get rid of your junker vehicles, paying you the most money possible. If you have metal, DD Auto and Salvage in Logan wants to pay you today. Call 787-1204.
That's 787-1204 today.
See store for details.
It's the Full Court Press, weekday afternoons from 4 to 6 on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan. Let's take a look at the numbers. It's the stat that blew our minds.
He did what?
On the Full Court Press.
Wow, that blew my mind.
All right, Jason, on Tuesday, we share the stat that blew our minds and our player of the week. So let's start out with the stat.
So the stat, we were talking about Miami Heat having a lot of undrafted players. They had 7 undrafted players play for them this postseason. It's the most for any team to have that appeared in the finals in the modern draft era, which is since 1966. So
that is a pretty impressive stat.
Yeah, is that yours?
Well, I'll just couple that with, I kind of alluded to this earlier too, but this is the 7th NBA Finals appearance for the Miami Heat since 2006. That's the most in the NBA during that time span. We think about historic franchises and like runs of success in this modern era. I think we think of the Golden State Warriors, maybe the San Antonio Spurs. But how about the Miami Heat? Why aren't they in that same discussion? Their 7th finals appearance since 2006.
I should say the other one that blew my mind, I didn't double check it, but someone said Kevin Love has made the finals every time he's been in the playoffs.
Wow.
So the Jazz need to sign Kevin Love.
Kevin Love is the secret sauce.
Yes, he is.
All right, very good. Okay, well, that's the stat that blew our minds. Now, what about our player of the week?
Time to see who the real MVP is.
If you have a good game, your game is going to say that. You don't have to say it.
Puts a lot of cool things in perspective anytime you're the first time doing something.
It's the Full Court Press Player of the Week.
Let's go!
Who you got as your player, Jason?
So I'm going back local, and actually it's not player, it's players. So I'm giving it to the Green Canyon boys lacrosse team. I know should highlight, both Bear River and Green Canyon for winning the boys and girls lacrosse titles, but just kind of the story of Green Canyon overcoming an early struggle with their schedule, and then, as I said, beating the 1, 2, and 3 seed in the playoffs. They're my players of the week.
You and I did not compare notes, but maybe we should have, because I too am recognizing the Green Canyon boys lacrosse team. The number 6 seed. Look, this is nobody lower than a 4 seed has won a state title for boys lacrosse. And they started off 2-7, turned things around, won the state title, upset the number 1 team just like they did a year ago. But I will, just like you, I'd add the recognition to the Bear River girls lacrosse team. Just a dominating year for them. And the state title game was no different. But congratulations to the 4A boys and girls lacrosse teams from Region 11.
There we go. Jeez. Making the same things in stat and player.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Fun times.
Speaking of winners, who won Pick 6 this week?
If I did the math correctly, it was me.
Ah.
And we don't have full time to go through. I'll post the results on social media. But I got 3 right. You got 2 right.
Ooh.
So.
Yeah, the tiebreaker probably didn't work in either of our favor, did it?
Well, I would have won. I won the tiebreaker.
Yeah, because you picked them to lose.
Yeah, I picked the Reds to win that one and the Cubs to lose. In that game, the Reds won by 3, I think.
Yeah.
And you had Cubs by like 1.5 runs.
Cubs didn't have a good series with Cincinnati.
No, they didn't. So yeah, you did better on picking the lacrosse-oriented ones. You got 2 out. We had 3 that were based on those lacrosse championships, and you got 2 out of the 3. Although I did better, we had 2 Game 5 related. Miami, Boston. I got both of those, so that kind of carried me there.
Very good.
Now we both got the golf one wrong. So.
Oh, we did. Oh, that's right, because that's like the one we agreed on.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll have the podcast available here shortly.
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. After wrapping up the regular season as the Eastern Conference's 8th seed, the Miami Heat knocked off the Celtics last night to become the second 8th-seeded team to reach the finals. But when you look at what the Heat have done under Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra, the team's success shouldn't come as a surprise. Spoelstra and Riley have shown a unique ability to adapt. Since Spoelstra became the head coach, Miami has missed the playoffs just 3 times. Throughout the same time period, the team has made 6 NBA Finals appearances. In fact, no team has made it to the finals more than the Heat since 2006. A lot of that has to do with the front office's ability to problem solve. After losing LeBron to free agency, the team has slowly managed to acquire winning pieces that many teams have passed over. And after another successful run, it's time to give the organization its flowers. Because after consistent turnover, what Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra have done is unprecedented. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise.